I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Practical Pet Chat. Hey Lorin, you be you. Or maybe you are you. And we should also be taking that approach with our pets. Because all too often, I'm seeing people that are reacting to something their pet's doing, and I'm like, that's exactly what a dog, a cat, a bird, etc. does. Why is that frustrating you so much?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things that, and I'm just going to give this simple one because I do it daily, and yet every time I'm out, I see the same mistake. So please, if you walk anywhere in my neighborhood, understand that the walk should be as much for your pet's nose as it is for their legs. Because I see people get frustrated that, this dog does not want to walk. When the dog wants to walk, but the dog also wants to get all the, news from around the neighborhood, so on and so forth. So if you're walking a dog, let that dog be that dog. Let them get their news.
Yeah, I think when a lot of that changed, because when I had the store, I watched it. I watched it happen. And it was with the anthropomorphism of animals where they hit that sudden leap into being fur babies. Regardless of the size of the dog, it's a fur baby. And the same thing with cats. And so now we want to control, their behavior at every turn. You need to look like this, you need to walk like that, you need to wear this. We're going here. You're coming to the grocery store, you're going there. It's like, really? Because sometimes it's cool just to stay home and be a dog.
Right.
And not have an expectation put on you. Just chill. Want to lay in front of the fire? Great. Don't want to lay in front of the fire? No problem. Instead of trying to manipulate everything they do. It used to be frustrating when people come in and you could clearly see, okay, so I had 12 dogs, right? I had 4 dogs out of those 12 who were actually excited to wear a shirt, or something like that. The other dogs, I know were plotting murder. I could see it behind their eyes that night. They were going to get together, and it was like, this was not fun. They didn't have any control over it. And so I stopped doing that. It was like, well, I can see they don't like it. So why am I going to do this? For my entertainment, for my joy of laughter for the few minutes that is torture for the kid. But for the 4 dogs that loved it, the wardrobe was amazing. And literally, I'd set things out and they would pick what they wanted, those 4 dogs. The other 8 dogs would be over up against the wall going, be careful, she doesn't look this way. We could be next, because they never got over the fact that I tried it with them when they, previously. And if they didn't want to do it, it was like, why am I making them? This isn't fun for them. So, I know it's probably different if you only have 1 or 2 and that's what you want to do. But really, you got to kind of look at, do you want somebody to make you do or wear or, behave in some way that you don't want? It's the same thing. It's kind of why you love creative grooming,
I do
and
love creative grooming.
and I look at the dog and go, do you wonder if all the other dogs in the neighborhood are going, oh man, did you see Fifi's color? Oh my gosh,
But you know, it's so
Fifi's a
interesting.
zebra today.
I love it. Bella's going to be a panda one of these days. Um, Maybe a raccoon.
What if
She
she
almost
doesn't
looks like,
want to be?
yeah, that's true. But you, as you were saying that, it's so funny because I didn't think that's where we were going to go with this conversation. But I have seen exactly what you're talking about, not just in the creative grooming, but I've got to admit, I used to be one of those of like, really, who needs a stroller for their dog? And I have now seen the happiest dogs in strollers.
Right.
And you know, it's just this weird, like, you have to get over yourself sometimes and just go, I wouldn't personally do that. But you know what? That dog, that cat, that bird is living, their best life. And you can see because they're strutting, they're, super happy, they're posing. You and I go to trade shows that,
Hmm.
we see these and it's just so fun and amazing because they pick up on that energy.
Hmm.
And so I think to me, that's the thing I just wanted to call out. I was like, hey, if it's not for you, be like the 8 other dogs in Lauren's pack and just, okay. But you don't have to try and shut it down. You don't have to try and, why would you do that? I mean, I see people um, who get, visibly upset.
They
It's
do.
not your kid. And it's like, really? Come on. Just,
Yeah.
walk the other way if it bugs you that much.
That's a sore spot. That's a
Yeah.
sore spot. When you, and it's been posted online by a few people in the past about calling your animals fur kids or
Oh, yeah.
referring to them as kids. And some people are visceral about it. And they absolutely are first to jump out and say why it's terrible. And then they come back, to other people going, well, I don't have kids. This is my kid. Or, all my kids have left and they live in Europe or something. And this is my kid now. And and I think we talked about this previously where it's more about how you feel
Yeah.
and the connection you have than it is a three-letter word. The word is just a summary of the emotion. I have to say though, what will get people over things really fast is if they have a little bit of empathy and actually look at why some people do things like the stroller.
Mhm.
If you have old, senior, or infirm kids, that still allows them to participate.
Exactly.
And they know it. They absolutely know it.
Yeah.
And they appreciate it because they can't do what they did before. And it still creates the bond and the connection. I love it. I mean, we have a stroller for our dogs. We never use it because they're little, but I have it in case somebody gets hurt,
Sure.
or somebody gets sick or something like that. And we need them to, be able to get outside or go somewhere and be part of things. So I think if a lot of people would just look at it a little differently. I know you and I at this last trade show, we saw the same kids at the same time a couple of times, and you love it, and I'm like, "Mm." But you have to check that when you look at the dog, and the dog is joyful.
Yeah.
And they're loving the creative grooming that they have. And it's like, all right, I'm good with it then. It's no negative to the dog. The dog isn't exhausted or feeling like, it's something they hate and they don't want the attention and they're not hiding. So, but it really comes down to being able to understand the animal that you have in front of you and appreciating their needs and wants and making sure that those are at least as important as what you want, because you're in control,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's the bottom line here. You're in control. But control is different than um, nurturing and compassion, you
Yeah.
know?
It's interesting because I would say 2 things. One, um, it has shifted quite a bit. I mean, there are some big names that are recognizable to non-pet industry people that used to really clamp down on anybody who would say, that is not your kid, that is a dog, and you must, blah, probably a lot of people know what I'm talking about. But that being said, yeah, yeah. But that being said, I do think we have learned a lot, and my argument always to that person and other people was whatever elevates the treatment and
Right.
respect for the animals, I'm all for. Now you can take anything too far, and I like how you framed it. As long as it's not harming the pet, you don't have to agree, but you can certainly look the other way or just okay, go. But the other part that you just said, and it's not just the creative grooming. I see the dogs. I see the all the different sport dog actors. And what's really interesting is I've had people say that I wouldn't put my pet through that, and I'm
Right.
like, oh my gosh, like these animals, they live for that. Like that has become a part of their DNA. And I would argue it was actually unlocked. It was already there as part of their DNA.
Right.
It was just unlocked. Because that's one of the things when I first saw the creative grooming, I was amazed. And I talked to some of these groomers, and I was just like, do you sedate them? How? I mean, this is a 2-day thing. And they're like, no, that's why it takes a very specific animal. And if
Right.
the animal doesn't want to do it, there's nothing you can do, nor should you. And so that's one thing that always stuck with me was the animals in those competitions were not only tolerant of it, but they seemed to really thrive. And that was their way of getting the focus on them, the attention, and the amount of love. And like, it's just so funny. It's that's why I call it an art. It's like, whoa, this one little hair is out of place, and I'm like, oh my God, nobody knows, right? But at the same time, that person cares enough to worry about each little detail. Same thing. I would go to the dogs and watch them do that. I was in the pool with a couple of them, doing some photography and stuff like that. And the people were working out as much as the animals. And what was so funny was sometimes they don't get the throw right, and the dog just flies past where they threw it. The dog didn't, pop up out of the water going, "You idiot! Why did you miss it?" Blah, 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 right? But the guy on the dog would be just screaming at himself, "Oh, I gotta get the throw right. We're gonna lose because of me," and all that. And what's funny is I would never be that, is what I said. And I'm not kidding you. After Sugar, and her leg had healed and all that good stuff, I had her in agility courses and all that. And we just, for the fun of it, got into an agility competition. And she lost. She got second place because I stepped out of the box with the wrong foot. I was so mad at myself. So here's the funny, and Sugar didn't catch. This is like, it was just fun, Dad. This is
Yeah.
great. And I think that's that other side of it that, like, oh, don't call them your kids, because there's, we all have our own, tropes and tapes that, we need to get past. At the end of the day, it's like, hey, have grace for yourself, have grace for others. And very few of these, pets are doing things, at least in the long run, that they don't want to do. As
Yeah.
someone who did
Well,
a
it's
lot
like
of
that with
photography,
show dogs.
yeah,
It's like that with show dogs too. You can't make a dog a show dog if they don't want to.
yeah. Well, and I would always, when people would call about the photography and be like, "Oh, it's so amazing that you do," and I'd always say, like, it's really not that amazing. I click a button, and it is all going to be the energy in the room and how comfortable your
Right.
particular animal is. And we had literally wild animals, we had reptiles, we had birds, we had dogs, cats, etc. Rarely did it have anything to do with me or anybody on the staff. It mostly had to do with, what was the energy? Were we all having fun? And
Yeah.
and that's the funny. I was just at an event, and I donated some of my books. And what was funny was I had someone go, "Oh, I'm glad you gave that up." And I'm like, "Well, first, I didn't give that up. But what's so objectionable? I would never let my dog be dressed up like that and put in a this or that." And I was like,
Okay, then don't.
"Yeah." I was like, "It's great. It wasn't for you, you know. It was for others." And meanwhile, there's 14 people over there looking at the book, all getting all giddy, sharing stories about their dogs and this and that. That's what it's about. It's about just find some joy in this world, please.
Well, and again, going back to the topic at hand, really go off of gauging your animal. You know,
Yes.
like when I was younger, lots younger as a kid, had a cat, and my most fun was dressing up the cat. That cat, the minute he had anything on him, fell right over. It was like, nope, nope, this is where it all ends right here. Not moving. I'm not participating. I'm not even going to acknowledge you until this crap comes off of me. And I was like, no. And I'd stand him up and he'd flop back over. And, I try to make him do things, put a hat on him, and he'd flop right over. And he just didn't look happy. And you have to understand that what is fun for you, if another being is going through it, and it's what you said earlier, it's about respect.
Yeah.
Once you've seen that this is not the thing, move on.
Yeah.
Let them be them, let them do their thing, let them be happy. Their lives are so short.
Yeah.
Let them be them and revel in that you have somebody that is so amazing as that animal that you get to be around.
Love that. On that note, share what your pet loves with us. Practicalpetchat@gmail.com. Thanks for listening to us. Thanks for watching us. Thanks for sharing us. We really appreciate being a part of your pet world. Thanks for joining us again on Practical Pet Chat.
Bye, guys.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for your pets. Always seek the advice of a qualified veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding your pet's health or medical condition. Never disregard professional veterinary advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The hosts and the guests of this podcast are not liable for any actions taken based on the information shared during these episodes. Any reliance on the information provided is solely at your own risk. Copyright 2026 Practical Pet Chat. All rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or reproduction of any content from this podcast, including but not limited to audio, scripts, and show notes, is prohibited without prior written consent. The opinions and views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Practical Pet Chat.